time for Toyota GR Cup North America as we head to Northern California wine country and Sonoma Raceway. This is race number 1 of a brand new season of Toyota's single-make championship that has produced some thrilling racing as well as stars of the future in a short amount of time. Hello, my name is Ryan Marine. We've got Calvin Fish alongside, and it's time to go. Exciting times here. Toyota GR Cup back in action once again.
Well, what a championship it's been over the last few years, Ryan, and we've got so much excitement on the grid right now. Some of the top dogs from the last couple of years have gone on to other championships, but there's some really fine young drivers on that grid, all hoping to make a statement here today in Sonoma.
Well, that's what this series is all about, making a statement, establishing your name. Many of these drivers, it's their first foray into professional racing, trying to catch the eye of Toyota or any number of other manufacturers that are in the SRO America paddock. And with that in mind, there's a lot of eyes on these teams, drivers, and cars, and a lot of expectation as well at the dawning of a brand new season. It's a packed grid, as always, down on the pit lane. 31 cars in total will start here in this season of Toyota GR Cup North America. Many of the same familiar faces starting at the front of the grid, with Lucas Weisenberg rolling out from pole position. Weston Workman will start alongside. And now we'll turn you over to the voices of Toyota GR Cup North America, Kyle Heyer and DJ Clark.
Thanks, Ryan. We're so excited to be back for a third year of Toyota GR Cup North America. 31 cars on the entry list. A lot of returning names that we're familiar with, but so many drivers that are new to the series, some new teams, and some young emerging talent. 3 14-year-olds in the field, DJ. There's so much to talk about. We're not going to have all that much time to get through it all, but those 14-year-olds I mentioned, there's a 15-year-old named Ethan Goulart also who qualified very, very well, but we're really excited to be back for a third consecutive season.
Yeah, very excited indeed, and really for the first time in a couple of years, we don't know how this is going to end out. We've got about 5, 6, 7 drivers that could end up on the top of the charts here, so when we look at this starting order, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see who's going to be able to take the fight to one another, and we could very well see a situation where week in and week out, we've got different fights, different battles taking place between different drivers, and we could see this go down to the very wire at race 2 at Indianapolis in October.
Yeah, we really didn't learn a lot in the first practice of the weekend, did we? Copeland Motorsports sat out, and that's probably the biggest change that we've seen. The 2 reigning champions of the series ran for Copeland Motorsports, but now it's really Jackson Bell leading that charge for that team. He was so confident in the paddock yesterday when we spoke to him, but there's a lot of young talent there. John Dean is new to the team. He was really strong in qualifying as well. So very, very excited. As you have a look at the left there, DJ, there's a good look at all the drivers that are competing. It is a big field this year.
Yeah, it is 31 entries coming on in this year, and I think when we talk about that championship run, we've got to start with really the top 5. Make that top 6, really. And Weisenberg, Workman, Kohlbecker, Goulart, a name you mentioned earlier, a young gun with a lot of speed, Robusto, Bell. Those top 6, really the 3 that I would point out as championship contenders. Just a note, by the way, to our viewers at home right now, we will have a secondary pace lap here, and the clock will start when that second pace lap begins. So we will have that second lap and give it another chance for these drivers to really get up to speed and get ready to roll.
Yeah, so going back to last season, right, we saw the battle with Weston Workman, and at the time it was Gresham Wagner that sort of stole that victory away in the very tail end. Workman was denied victory too many times last year. I think he had like 8 or 9 second places by the time we got to Indianapolis. He's going to roll off on the outside of the front row. He's going to be right near Lucas Weisenberg here. So there's a lot of pressure, I think, for those drivers that have seen the drivers dominate the championship. This is a wide open championship. There's a lot of returning names that we mentioned, DJ, but this is probably the most unknown I've ever felt about a field coming into the year.
I have to completely agree with you. And like I said, very possible this is going to come down to the wire to race 2 in Indianapolis. There's Weston Workman on your screen in that Endava livery, the number 13, making the switch over from Copeland to BSI. He's really now spearheading that team, leading that team. Same is true with Spike Kohlbecker at RVA Graphics Motorsports. But let's also talk about the 6th place driver here, Jackson Bell, who has maintained his alliance with Copeland Motorsports. We had a chance to talk to Jackson about being the, I don't want to say old timer, but being the veteran presence behind the wheel at Copeland Motorsports. And he kind of grinned at us and just said, I'm ready for it. I love this position.
Yeah, and I think, he's had a couple of seasons of success, and we noted how dominant in the past Gresham Wagner, Tyler Gonzalez were. 13 wins for Wagner, 7 for Gonzalez. Spike Kohlbecker in that yellow car, Vanguard engines on board with him this year, and a new team for him. He had 6 wins. But Jackson Bell and Lucas Weisenberg are the only other 2 drivers to have ever won in this series, and they're the only ones that are returning with the exception of Spike Kohlbecker. So we're going to see new winners this season. We'll see new teams at the top of the order with RVA Graphics Motorsports by Speed Syndicate. Will Robusto is also on that team still as he was last year, but then so many of the new drivers. Jensen Sofronis, 14 years old, starting 8th in the number 41. John Dean, new to Copeland Motorsports. Aiden Kirk for Tech Sport. And Tech Sport has stacked the deck over there as well with Max Schweid and a handful of others like Ethan Goulart. And a couple of other new drivers to the series, Brett Kowalski in the number 15 and more. So you're going to learn some new names this year, and we cannot wait.
You're going to learn some new names, you're going to learn some new liveries, but you are going to learn what it's like to be racing here in the Toyota GR Cup North American Series. This is some of the best racing on the face of the planet. Lucas Weisenberg leads us down into turn 11. Mike Stillwagon takes the Toyota GR86 safety car off into pit lane as we begin a new season and indeed a new chapter in the Toyota GR Cup North America. Come down through turn 11 right now. Weisenberg in the blue Segra livery brings the field down. 31 cars begin to bunch up as they enter on into the acceleration zone. Eyes go. Aggressive move from Weisenberg as the green flag flies, and we are racing in the 2025 season. Here they go, Weisenberg, and that is going to be him and Workman kind of leaning on each other a little bit. Mike Kohlbecker says, I'll take advantage of it. Runs around the outside as we go 2-3 wide farther back in the field.
Yeah, Casey Mashore was 3 wide on the inside of somebody back there as they make their way up through turn 2, but it's Kohlbecker up into second place, got by Weston Workman, who gets a boot from the number 2, Will Robusto, and the 72 of Goulart's there to take advantage of it as well. But here comes Jackson Bell down the inside, 3 wide into turn 4.
Pumping, banging, and bumping. Bell, not to be denied, shoves the youngster Goulart out of the way. That, I believe, farther in the back is going to be the number 47 machine of Aiden Kirk for Tech Sport Wason, getting a little bit squirrely in the outside.
Yeah, this is frantic moments. A lot of these drivers in this field have only ever taken 1 green flag here in this series before. A lot of the 14-year-old drivers I mentioned made debuts at VIR last year, but this is their first real start in anger for a championship season. Points on the line. 14 races across 7 rounds. You cannot afford a mulligan weekend. You have to maximize and capitalize on every single one, like we see with the number 98 now of Max Schweid for Tech Sport sneaking down the inside of his teammate.
Yeah, he's going to have to be a little bit careful about that. They've already had to repair 1 chassis over the course of this weekend. They don't want to be repairing 2 thanks to friendly fire damage. That's the number 78 there of Ethan Ayers, another young driver for Copeland Motorsport, driving, I believe, the chassis that Mia Lovell had underneath her last year, so we know that car has got some speed. As they come down to the braking zone for turn number 9A, those cars getting a little bit squirrely in the background, kicking up some dirt, but up at the front of the field, it's Lucas Weisenberg.
Yeah, and Weisenberg, again, we mentioned his 1 victory he had in the past. It came at VIR back in 2023. We saw him in the paddock this weekend. We said, how you doing, man? What's your hope for the season? He said, 14 wins. Cold-faced, stone-hearted. That kid is ready to rock here for the Lucas Racing team. It is a small family-operated team. They travel to every event. He had some merch shirts in his trailer that he flew with on the airplane in his baggage, his checked luggage. So he knows how to get it done on track and off.
Yes, he does here as they continue to climb up the hill through turn 2. That number 2 machine of Will Robusto, another driver that could have a good run this year, looking on the back of Weston Workman. No real defensive move needed into turn 3, but you can definitely tell that Robusto is trying to get a little bit of an attack. Jackson Bell, meanwhile, in that 5th place car, the number 5, the Brown Ability machine.
Whoa.
Oh, dips some tires off into the outside, around the outside of turn 4, but he's going to keep pressing ahead.
Yeah, a lot of drivers are experiencing that push coming down the hill out of turn 4. The track falls away from you. The camber flattens out. It does the same at the exit of turn 6 here, where you rejoin Sonoma Raceway's drag strip. So the camber and banking completely goes away, and the cars push out wide. And
that's Bell. No, it's
Robusto.
not.
that went out for a slide at the exit of 6, got in the grass, and here comes Goulart to try to take advantage of it, sneaks through and passes the 2 car.
So Robusto loses 2 positions. I will be thrown off. The noses of Bell and Robusto's car look very, very similar.
No one will fault you for that, DJ.
I will fault myself. But nevertheless, here they go. Bell now moves up into 4th place. He's going to have eyes on the back of his teammate, Weston Workman, but I'd argue that he needs to be looking in the rearview mirror a little bit more because Ethan Goulart looks like he could be coming onto the back of him. Meanwhile, the battle for P2 between Kohlbecker and Workman looks like it could be heating up as well.
Yeah, really tight between those drivers. A little slip and slide. I think it was Jensen Safronis who's running 9th right now, again, son of James Safronis, who is one of the winningest drivers in SRO Motorsports history. I think 9th all-time. Actually, well, no, he is the first all-time. I have to remember the stat on that. But either way, very successful racing family here in SRO Motorsports America, now 2 generations deep with Jensen joining the field. Looking a little deeper, that's the 98 Schweid. That's for 10th.
Yeah, and remember we saw him set the lead there on Hayden Kirk, but both of those textbook teammates have gathered everything up. John Dean for Copeland Motorsports, one of our WWEX drivers for the Legends Award. We have added that in this year, that it is the driver who finishes highest up for 45 and up. He is currently holding on to that prize. And by the way, we have had our first penalty of the season issued. Beltrek Curtis, the number 5 for Copeland Motorsports, instant responsibility drive-through.
Yeah, that's a shame. Beltrek Curtis, young driver we were talking to in the paddock yesterday. We're talking about drivers, what they do outside of the racetrack. You mentioned he's a track runner, so he's a very fit young man, and unfortunately he'll have to take a slow trip down the pit lane and rejoin after that. And Weston Workman, by the way, number 13 in that Ndava liveried car, putting a lot of pressure on Kohlbecker, and because of that, Weisenberg's been able to put just a slight amount of distance on those next 2 cars, but far from running away.
Here's another battle farther back in the field. This is just up the road from that Schweid-Kirk battle. That is Jensen Safronis in the number 41. This looks like it could get a little bit spicy with the 3 of them running line astern. Schweid, though, now under pressure from Aiden Kirk, his teammate. Here they come on the run down into turn 9A. That's going to be Kirk looking to the inside, not able to do it. Safronis.
Saw the hands moving. Look at the hands back and forth. These cars have a near 50-50 weight distribution. They are meant to handle and pivot around the center of the car. They're such a joy to drive, but Jensen is working hard right now to try to defend from the 98 and 47 into turn 11.
Big defensive move there from Jensen as he tries to hold off that attack from the 98 of Schweid as much as possible. I'm not sure if he needed to do that, but he did it nonetheless.
Yeah, I think these cars, again, we should talk a little bit about the chassis itself. They all come off of the production line where the road-going customer, GRD6s are built, and they're sent off the TRD's facility in Charlotte to get all the parts and pieces and turn them into race cars. They retain almost all of their road-going characteristics, though they have a whole bunch of parts and pieces, JRI adjustable shocks. Alcon brakes in, Continental Tire, Safronis goes for a slide and into the tire bundles at turn 3A.
Oh, just absolutely lost it. And we were talking not too long ago about how much he was sawing at the wheel. That was a scary, scary incident. Glenn, that photographer over there, was okay, by the way. They saw that coming and got out of it. Let's take a look at this replay,
Yeah,
Kyle.
so you see him just turn in, and the car was already sideways, and it's just an overcorrection. And I think you'll see that the car was right at the dip of the compression. So when he had his hands back to the right, the car compressed, and then it shot to the right there. And it looks like Safronis is able to pull away, and it also looks like we do have a double yellow condition. You see now the 2 yellow flags. I was waiting to see it at the flag stand just to be sure, but first safety car of the season for that incident at 3A.
And there is the official indication. It is a full course yellow. Not probably what Lucas Weisenberg wants to see necessarily at the front of the field, but this could be a blessing to the likes of Spike Kohlbecker or Weston Workman. Bunch the field back up, give him another chance to attack Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas is doing well, but as you mentioned, he had about a second advantage, 1.4 advantage over Spike Kohlbecker that now gets erased. And wasn't clear that Safronis would be able to drive away from that incident zone. So I'm not expecting this to be a very long full course yellow. But
he stopped again there at the, I think that's the crest of 3A.
Yeah, so didn't make it very far, another couple hundred feet from where he found his way into the tires there. But going back to what I was talking about, when he had the car sideways, it just hit that compression. And when you do that, you gain a bunch of grip all at once. And he had his hands to the right and the left-hander. So as soon as you gain that grip, it just shot the other direction. And that's sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and that was a big one for Jensen.
Yeah, that was a pretty big hit there. And the other thing that I think that they'll want to do is the safety crews here will probably want to go out and just kind of reform that tire barrier a little bit after an impact like that.
Yeah, you want the tire bundles to be how they were before the incident, so they'll probably take a moment to do that. But either way, we're going to bunch the field back up. 34 minutes to go here in our opening round of the Toyota GR Cup North America season. And see, everyone else, you know who this is really going to help? We mentioned a few minutes ago the number 5 car, Beltre Curtis. He had that drive-through penalty. Had he already served it, he will get to bunch right back up to the tail of the field, and that will accelerate his learning process, because you're not going to learn a ton about racing in this field if you're all out there by yourself, right? He's been out on track testing, practicing, qualifying all week. You need to get door to door to get the experience, and I think this will give him the opportunity to get right back at it.
Sadly, though, I don't think he has served that penalty yet, because normally from race control we would get a message that says car number 5 penalty served, and we haven't seen that pop up.
And that'll be frustrating, because if they didn't serve it, and they had an opportunity to, or they were trying to argue to get it overturned or something, that usually doesn't work. But this is why when you get these penalties, sometimes it's best just to serve them immediately in case something like this happens. But you never know. Racing's it's a live sport. Every moment is a curiosity. So down into turn 6 behind the control of the GR86 safety car. New livery on it this year with the Toyota GR House colors. It looks mighty attractive, if I do say so myself.
And you do.
Thank you. But the amber and white lights still on. You see Weisenberg and others in the field weaving back and forth, and that again is to keep the Continental tires clear of debris, keep them warmed up, and as they run, they're gonna, when you slow down and cool off, they're gonna pick up all the marbles trackside. And so you want to make sure you've got a nice cleaned off tire for the impending restart. And you see there in the foreground of the shot, all those marbles that are pieces of rubber off of the tires, and as soon as you slow down, they will stick to it like glue. And they call them marbles because it's like driving on marbles, and you do not want those on your slick racing tires when you go back green.
Now, one thing that's interesting to me here is the fastest lap of the race is currently held by Jackson Bell with a 152.265. That's about quarter of a second faster than anybody else on the track. Now, Jackson's sitting in 4th right now. Lights are still on, so we will have another lap around here under safety car conditions. I think our assessment that they were going to spend a little time to fix that tire barrier is probably correct. But my point is that Jackson had to kind of get his elbows out, scrap a little bit farther back in the field. Now with this yellow flag, if he's able to maybe get by Weston Workman off the bounce, he's clearly got the outright speed to challenge up to Kohlbecker and to Weisenberg.
For Jackson Bell, we've seen him have pace, but pace and the speed that you can run any individual lap is fantastic, but in the racecraft scenario, in the racing environment, you need to have the aggression to go with. And I think, yes, he's fast. That's definitely clear to me, but he's got to get up on the wheel, get the elbows out, get aggressive, because this is a challenging racetrack to overtake. You've got opportunities at 7, 9, and 11, and if you're really racy, maybe turn 4. And that's where we saw Gresham Wagner get it done here last year on Weston Workman with 2 laps to go. So Jackson has got to get up on the wheel. He's got to be aggressive, take some chances here, and trust that he's got the talent and ability to handle things when they get a little sideways on him. I think that will be the key on this restart.
I think you're right about that. Now, I want to ask you this. If you are the likes of Kohlbecker and Workman, how hard are you going to be pressing at this restart, going up into 1, going up into 2 on Lucas Weisenberg? Are you going to be pressing them, or are you going to be thinking about those overtaking opportunities a little bit later?
The last 2 seasons, we have seen dominance. There is a gaping hole at the top of the timing tower for someone else to fill that gap. So Spike Kohlbecker better be aggressive. Someone is going to leave here with a race win or a pair of race wins and set the tone for the season. So if you're going to be aggressive, the drivers that have been in this series for a handful of seasons, Weisenberg, Kohlbecker, Workman, Bell, they know what the car is going to do when they get to the top of the hill. Use that experience that Goulart, Dean, Ayers, Schweid don't have and capitalize on it.
It's a sage analysis here from Kyle Heyer.
Go for it. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, safety car, first race of the year. You want to hold that #1 trophy at the end of the weekend. Probably
no, I
twice.
think you certainly do. And I think there's no question about it. By the way, we will re-qualify tomorrow morning, so that will come up. we'll see that take place. That can potentially change the order, and we'll see what it does tomorrow.
So down the field a little bit, Jackson and Ethan Tovo running 13th and 15th. They are two of the 14-year-olds that I mentioned in this field, the number 31 and the number 113. There's Jackson Tovo leading his brother by 1 spot. They've got 17-year-old Christian Weir between them. The Tovos were participants in the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League last week that we host over on the GT World YouTube channel, and that series is designed to emulate this as closely as possible. So it runs twin 25-minute races, slightly shorter, but in a very similar format. The Tovos participated in that race last week, running a slightly different track layout over on iRacing, but they were prepped very well by the competition they faced last week in the esports environment.
Yeah, and you as the the safety car staying out for at least one more lap, and we're very, very happy to be able to see not only that esports league coming up and being a thing, but to see the crossover in between. Kyle, you and I both have a history of esports and of sim racing, so it's always kind of a special thing to be able to see. I do see the medical car making its way back in. So
and to boot, I know, maybe not in the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League, but I've seen a handful of these other drivers. Schweid I've seen running in the esports world, and a handful of others on this entry list. Weston Workman participated in it last year. We hope to get Lucas Weisenberg, and they were talking to him about it the other day. But it's just, we run the same schedule as the Real World Series, and the whole idea is to kind of give drivers in the esports world a taste of what Toyota GR Cup North America is like. And so, yeah, definitely the week before the real broadcast, check it out, because it gives you an idea what you're going to see, a harbinger of things to come, perhaps, in the action we saw last week.
Yeah, certainly, definitely looked that way at any rate from what I was able to see when I tuned in about it. I unfortunately was not able to be a part of it, but you and Justin Princeton did an absolutely stellar job with it, as always. And good news to race fans everywhere, lights are out on the safety car.
That's good news, and when the lights are out, that signifies that the safety car will dive to pit lane, provided they don't turn back on. There's a look at the number 15 car. That's Tech Sport Racing's Brett Kowalski. You mentioned the Tech Sport car that had some damage to repair, and that was the car that did it. There's the 17 Vanderster Racing car, Miles Hewitt, another driver that we've seen at a couple of points last season, but now bringing the Vanderster name over. They've been, a team that we've seen over the GT4 side of the paddock quite a bit, so glad to have them coming over to the Toyota GR Cup land and bring Hewitt with them.
Yeah, we're very happy to have them on board, and again, as this series just continues to grow and evolve and attract more and more drivers.
And Shea Holbrook, that number 67. This is Shea Holbrook, the owner of BSI Racing. This is her first professional race in about 5 years. We talked to her on Thursday, and she was really excited about this opportunity, but also nervous. She had won previously in what was then World Challenge back at the streets of Long Beach, and excited to be back. She told me, she's like, I've been out of the seat so long, I needed to do this or I wasn't going to do it again. So really stoked that she's here, currently running 19th in the field, and I bet she's having the time of her life right now.
Yeah, having a great one. Anytime you get to rip around in these GR Cup cars, you're always going to have a smile on your face. There we go. GR86 safety car pulls down pit lane, and it is back to the blue car in front. The Segra liveried machine of Lucas Weisenberg for Lucas Racing brings that car through turn 11. Acceleration zone is a little bit different on the restart, and it looks like he's going to get on the loud pedal right off of the get-go. There he gets on it, and the green flag is back in the air. We are racing once more with about 26 minutes left to go, and it looks like your assessment was right there, Kyle. Kohlbecker, Workman moving their way forward.
Yeah, up into turn 2 here on the restart. Kohlbecker is on it. He's about a half a car length behind Lucas Weisenberg in the 46. Workman did not get the best run through that second corner, so here comes Jackson Bell in the Brawnability car, and he's got Ethan Goulart all over the rear wing of that GR86.
Oh, hopping a tire up into the air. There was, I believe that was the Copeland Motorsports car of John Dean, just trying to pop that up into the air. We check back a little farther in the field. Here is that battle for P3 as they continue to try to push their way forward. Jackson Bell looking for any opportunity. A little bit of a squirrel there, though, for Ethan Goulart.
Oh, trouble for Shea Holbrook. Exited turn 4. She's gone around for a slide. There's a little bit of damage. Oh, there's a lot of damage on the left front of that car. It is pointed the wrong direction. We'll see if she can get it back to the pit lane. All the while, Weisenberg leads the field into turn 7.
5-car breakaway up in the front away from Will Robusto. Robusto actually goes defensive there onto defending from John Dean.
Watch the 21. That's Ford Koch in the Copeland car that took a look up the inside. That is the siren song of corner passes, isn't it? Between 7 and 7A, when drivers drift out wide to get back on the racing line. You'd like to find a GR86 sized hole there, but not quite that time through.
Here's that battle with John Dean and Ethan Ayers. Ayers in the car behind right now. Dean in the Copeland Motorsports machine. They're very similar liveried, as Dean again runs wide. That's the second time on this lap we've seen him do that.
Yeah, the aggression level is certainly up between those two cars. Dean heading down into turn number 11. Here comes a pass. That's Zach Hollingshead in the 88. Little contact there to the back of Ford Koch. It's going to send Aiden Kirk a little wide there as they navigate turn 11. And here comes the 31 of Jackson Tovo. He's got a great view out the windshield.
Yes, he does. He's going to bring it on. Hollingshead trying to push his way up forward. That one of those cars that's allied with Copeland Motorsports, with PT Autosport. Big slide there for the number 21 machine of Ford Koch.
Yeah, I see the grip on the side of it. He didn't have that much through turn 1, did he? And the 47, Aiden Kirk trying to take advantage of it. You mentioned the 88 of Hollingshead. That's the PT Autosport car with Copeland Motorsports. And we mentioned the esports competition. PT Autosport has a lot of presence in that series as well. So cool to see them take that gap. Looks like Goulart's going to drop some tires at the exit of 4, but in pursuit of Jackson Bell in that number 7.
Robusto trying to make this a 6-car train there as Jackson Bell works his way through the carousel down the hill right now, waiting to see how this is all going to turn out. If anybody's going to get a run, it may actually be Ethan Goulart. No, I take that back. It may be Weston Workman on Spike Kohlbecker as they come into 7. Everyone being very cautious.
Goulart took a look at Bell into 7. He offset the entry there and braked a bit later, but wasn't close enough to get that Tech Sport 72 up the inside. Takes a hop of the curbing there. You can be so aggressive on the curbs around Sonoma with these cars. Help rotate the machine through some of these hairpin corners. They're pretty compliant. You see the ride heights up high enough where they can clamber over these curbs and really not slow themselves down too much.
No, they don't really have to. Here is there. Kohlbecker tries to defend a little bit. We didn't see too much, but I think Workman's starting to poke and prod. They've got to be careful, though. If they go too wide, that's going to be an open invitation for Jackson Bell to come and take something, and as well as an open invitation for Lucas Weisenberg to sprint off into the distance.
Yeah, he has not been able to. He's running away, but not by much. It's half a second between himself and Spike Kohlbecker. Any mistake is going to cost that 46 the lead, I imagine, with how close Kohlbecker is.
To agree with you there. A little bit of a gap farther back down in the field. That's really from about, I'd call that 9th to 10th, side by side there farther back. That's the 71 of Weir and Tovo. Whoa!
Big slide there for Weir and Tovo. Side by side, it's Jackson and Ethan, both the 14-year-old brothers in this fight with Christian Weir between them. 14, 17, and 14. That's the combination there of ages. None of them could get their driver's license. Yeah, I suppose the 71 could.
Yeah, the 71 could. He's 17. As it looks like kicking up a little bit more dirt there. I think that was Will Robusto. There's that battle up ahead that we were talking about a little bit earlier with the PT Autosport driver, Zach Hollingshead. But look at this. Here comes the 71 trying to be able to get their way back around. We're trying to get back on Tovo down into the carousel.
That's a tough move here. The camber goes way away on the entrance to turn 6, and through comes the 71. And now the Tovos are nose to tail. The exit of 6, dirt kicked up in the air on that one. Oh, spin at the front, and it's the 70. Keeps it straight somehow, but I imagine that was off the front bumper of the 72 of Goulart. That was a battle that was heating up.
Yeah, that's Jackson Bell. He's going to be able to rejoin at about 8th place position behind John Dean, I believe. And Jackson's not giving that away. He's definitely fighting it out, trying to hold on as much as possible.
Man, somebody lit the afterburners here. It got aggressive after this restart, and here is that battle again for 6th place now. It's John Dean and Jackson Bell, who's trying to recover from that slide up at 7, and the tires are hot after that big slip up.
Oh, this is into the hands here of Ethan Ayers. Ayers looking to try to attack Bell. Bell takes the defensive line, move back to the standard racing line.
Did you notice the hand up in the windshield? So that was a little cooperation there. The 78 said, I'm not going for it. Get back on the line, because he's being attacked by the 98. A little bit of cooperation there. I don't think he wanted to go side by side through that final corner.
Yeah, you're right. And Schweid in that 98 trying to make it work. Now Weisenberg's been able to get a little bit of a gap, especially as Kohlbecker and Workman look like they're ready to do battle.
Up into turn 2 now. Spike Kohlbecker climbing the curbs there. Weston Workman was denied victory last year. He was so hungry for it. 8 or 9 second-place finishes last season. He was so tantalizingly close. And now with just like Kohlbecker and Weisenberg, between himself and a victory. Got about half the race left to get it done.
Yeah, and he's the only one out of the top 3 here that has not picked up a race win. Weisenberg has 1 to his name. Kohlbecker has 7, I believe, to his name. Weston Workman wants this.
Yeah, and for Weisenberg, we mentioned this earlier, but this is a one-car team, a family-owned team that travels together to every race, and they're going up against the juggernauts of this series. Then another spin.
Another mistake for Jackson Bell.
Yeah, gone from bad to worse. Again, he was already sort of on the hind foot after that slide at 7 a lap ago. And that was down at turn 4. Back rolling again. I don't see any damage on it. But
no,
we'll see if he has
a lot of barriers that are too close by there, so I would imagine that's probably just a little bit of a spin.
Just wondering if he had some help or if that was self-induced, but either way, carry on back up front here. Battle for second's hotter than the one for the lead, I'd say. Looks like Kohlbecker has more in the rear view than he does in the windshield at the moment.
Yeah, with Workman closing in, and we got to give props here again to Ethan Goulart. He is just driving a really fantastic race, and I know you had the chance to be able to really talk to him and get to know him at VIR last year.
Yeah, so he entered 1 round at VIR last season, qualified 3rd.
He has been given a penalty, a drive-through, has Ethan Goulart for incident responsibility. Kyle, I think we found out what happened to Jackson Bell in turn 7.
I think we can fit those puzzle pieces together, but that is so unfortunate for Ethan Goulart. I was just going to say that at VIR last year, his only entry in 2024, qualified 3rd, ran 4th until he had a mechanical issue. But today, similar story, running 4th, but he will drop down the timing pylon with a drive-through penalty for incident responsibility.
Really hate to see that for such a young driver, and we can see the damage on the front of that number 72 Tech Sport Racing Toyota as well.
Yeah, just fitting the puzzle pieces together, finding out what happened, but that's a shame. That's going to promote Robusto back up to 4th place here. And here's Weisenberg. There's some lap traffic to contend with. That might mix things up. We talked about how challenging it is to overtake here. 3 really good opportunities, 4 if you're brave, but with the lap traffic might make things interesting for Weisenberg. He hasn't had anyone in the windshield yet this race.
No, he hasn't. Workman, though, has had Kohlbecker in front of him really since the beginning of the first lap when Kohlbecker made that very aggressive move, but I think Workman said it is time to go. Flash of the headlights there for Weisenberg.
Yeah, Weisenberg's feeling antsy here, and the battle for seconds on Workman. Wide entry to 7. He's going to over-under. Kohlbecker runs a little wide. Here comes Workman. Jams his car down the inside. That's for 2nd place. Door-to-door, puff of tire smoke. A little more rubbing, and over the curb goes the 55. That was a decisive pass, and Workman was waiting no longer.
And Goulart was able to sneak his way in there as well. We know he's got a penalty to serve, but he wants to prove he belongs up at the front of this series.
And he'll be upset with that, too. He'll probably be arguing over the radio, but not much point in that at this stage. 17 minutes to go. He'll have to make the left turn onto pit lane, and it is a long, slow pit road here at Sonoma Raceway. But we'll see if he peels off this time, and he will stay on the racetrack. Interesting.
Incident revolving cars 7 and 78. That's Jackson Bell and Ethan Ayers. So I think we've put another 2 puzzle pieces together, and we figured out what happened to Jackson coming into turn 4.
Some days you're the bat, some days you're the ball, and I think Jackson Bell has been the ball a couple times this afternoon here at Sonoma. And it's frustrating. We talked about how this series is 7 rounds, 14 races. You don't have the opportunity for a mulligan round. And you really need to be, I think, to win this championship, podium every single race, given what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, I want to give credit here to Lucas Weisenberg. He was able to quickly dispatch Beltre Curtis, the lapped car there that you see getting off to the left. That bought him some time from the attacking Weston Workman, and it bought him maybe a couple of tenths of a second to be able to scamper off into the distance.
I think Goulart's trying to make a statement here, putting pressure on the 2nd place car. He's got a penalty to serve, but I think he wants the world to know that he belongs up at the front of this field. And I guess while you're on the racetrack, at least you might as well still fight for it.
Yeah, there's no rule saying you have to stop fighting. Yeah, you might as well. He may even have a little bit of a look here down into turn 7. He's certainly got the speed to do it. He's close enough. Decides not to. Workman just holds that line. One of the things that always surprises me about Weston Workman and that I love in watching him is the smoothness on the hands. He's very, very smooth in the way that he drives that car. You don't see a lot of superfluous movement on the wheel.
The thing I want to keep an eye on as we watch Workman defend from Goulart. As soon as Goulart is out of the rearview mirror, I want to pay close attention to the lap times between Weisenberg and Workman, because without pressure from behind, Weston might be able to run down Lucas Weisenberg. We still have 15 minutes of this race left to go.
Yeah, we certainly do. Goulart, yeah, flashing the blinkers. That's an indication he's coming down to the pit lane. Good call there for Ethan Goulart. Good sportsmanship to let everybody know he's coming in, but that is going to be that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, long, slow pit lane here for the contact involving himself and the 7 of Jackson Bell. But that will leave Weisenberg and Workman sort of on an island unto their own now, with 1.5 seconds between them. But Weisenberg was still pretty quick last time, 0.2 quicker than Weston Workman, so that gap is still growing. But now with Goulart gone, maybe Workman can turn things up and run that down that 46 car out front.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, there is something to be said for the fact that if you don't have that pressure from behind, you can just focus on being as fast as possible and really push yourself ahead. As Goulart, you can see falling down through the order there. Little battle. This is Tovo trying to take the fight here. Livio Galante actually taking the fight to, I believe that's Ethan Tovo in the 113.
It is Ethan Tovo. Big cloud of dust over the crest of 4. And again, Ethan and Jackson Tovo, the young brothers, working with the Nitro Motorsports team again this season. Livio Galante in that number 89, the Eagles Canyon Racing powered by Fast Track car. Good to have Livio back again this season. And that's the 2. Robusto under fire from John Dean. I didn't know much about John Dean coming into this weekend, but we're going to know a lot about him, I think, coming into the next round, because he has kept that Copeland Motorsports 16 in the camera shots up in the top 5 here so far in this race.
Yeah, and again, in that Legends category, so an over 45-year-old driver. Don't know his exact age off the top of our heads, but he's slicing and dicing here with a bunch of the young guns, and it's pretty impressive to see.
The turn 9 chicane. You know, one thing that Will Robusto has never lacked is aggression.
Yes.
You think back to Barber last year when he went down into the S's and just hammered the curbs, and he definitely explores the limits of the suspension travel on these GR86s.
Yeah, certainly does. So now he comes down into the hairpin at turn 11. He's got a little bit of breathing room between himself and John Dean at the moment, but Dean, I think, would love to be able to get that away. Although a top 5 on debut for John, definitely something to hold your hat to.
It'll be a very strong showing if you hang on for the next 13 minutes. Out front, though, Lucas Weisenberg leads the way, but this is the thing I wanted to point out, the lap time differential. Weston Workman just had a personal best lap, was 0.4 quicker than Lucas Weisenberg last time. That gap now down to 1.2, still 12 minutes on the board. That 13 car's coming.
Yeah, definitely is. Zach Hollingshead here on your screen for PC Autosport. Want to give them a huge shout out. We absolutely love them. Their whole mantra is giving chances to drivers that normally wouldn't have an opportunity to go racing. They do the shootout at the end of the year, and Zach Hollingshead, the winner of that, is the car behind him. That's Ford Koch running a little bit wide for Copeland Motorsports in that number 21. He's able to gather it up back underneath him, but Hollingshead withstanding this pressure well.
Yeah, and both these cars, again, associated with the Copeland Motorsports team. And one of the things Ford Koch said in the paddock yesterday was, I know the team isn't the variable. The team's great. We know that. They've had 18 wins in this series between 2023 and 2024 out of a possible 28. So all but 10 races in this championship have been won by Copeland. So you know that the team isn't the variable. I am the variable, he said. And there's some pressure that's associated with that as well. You know that you can make the difference. And if you've got teammates that are outperforming you, it's up to you to perform better than them.
Yeah, we just saw Aiden Kirk hold off an attack there from Jackson Tovo. This is going to be for the 11th place position. Tovo carrying a lot of speed coming down out of the S's, barely held on to that car. And there's definitely a little damage there on the right front of Jackson Tovo's machine, but that's all in a good day's work.
I was so impressed by the Tovo brothers at VIR last year. At the time, they had just turned 14 that weekend at VIR. It was the first time they'd ever driven a car with a roof. They came from small formula cars racing in grassroots series, and that was their first attempt driving a big car, full-size machine, and they've taken to it like a duck to water. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, it looks like here Weisenberg's been able to respond a little bit to the attack of Workman. Workman was about, call it a half a tenth faster on that last lap, but cutting it down like that, I think for Weisenberg can do a world of good.
Doesn't need to take chunks out of it, just slivers for now. But you need to leave yourself enough time to make that sneak attack and get it done. Think back to 2024. It was done in turn 4, 5, and 6. And Weston Workman was on the receiving end of the pass. I think he'd like to be on the offensive side this time around.
I think he would as well. There is that battle for the lead. Lucas Weisenberg holding off the attack here by about 9/10 of a second. But what's going to get interesting here, is there's a little bit more lap traffic in front of Lucas that he'll have to contend with. And when that comes in, how quickly is he able to dispatch it?
Yeah, Weston Workman is making bigger inroads now, 3/10 alone in that first sector. And new sponsor on board, switching teams over to BSI Racing. Of course, Weston works with BSI Racing and other paddocks around the motorsports community, so there's already pre-established communication. And for Lucas Weisenberg, family and friends team, you've got the best communication you could possibly have. But again, the confidence that Lucas had and just how chill he is in the paddock, just how relaxed he was, tells me he's set up. And like I said, that gaping hole at the top of the scoring pylon in lieu of the past champions here. Weisenberg is poised to be that driver this season.
Yeah, certainly is. Comes down here under 10 minutes to go, doing lap times here of just shy of 2 minutes. So we're going to say 5, maybe 6 laps to go if my math is correct.
Pretty close to that. But all of those laps are going to matter for Weston Workman because he needs all the time that he can get. Weisenberg wants this race to be over as soon as possible. Workman would like another 15 or 20 minutes.
3/10 taken out.
Yeah, you can see it visually now. It's down to 3 or 4 car lengths.
What does Spike Kolbecker have here at this point in 3rd place? That's my other question. Let's jump back in the field. This is Zach Hollingshead, Ford Koch, Christian Weir, and Aiden Kirk. This is going to be the battle for about 8th place. Also, Jackson Tovo holding on to the back of this battle as well. So this is a nice little scrap we've got going on, and I think if one of these drivers gets side by side, we could see all of them getting side by side.
A nice little train. All of them want to be the locomotive now over the crest of 3A. The 88 little sideways over the top of the crest. Christian Weir with the fake move down into turn 4 to see if Ford Koch would bite, but did not. Drags the tires over the dirt again, but just keeps the pedal mashed to the floor. 228 horsepower out of these cars. Same engine that you get in the road car, right off the factory production line. And sent over to TRD in Charlotte, as we mentioned.
Differing line there for Koch as they came out of the corner. I'm not sure it's going to work out for him. I thought he was going to be able to carry a little bit more speed, but that could open up a door for Christian Weir.
Leaning on the headlight button, just trying anything to distract driver of the 88. They're all running real wide past the white line there. Whoop, slip up for the 21 of Koch, and here comes Weir.
Can he make this work? We saw that work a little bit earlier. Didn't play out. Weir decided to back out of it. But now he's got to be careful. Aiden Kirk in the Tech Sport entry wants to get a little bit of run on his teammate. Weir goes off into the dirt again. Here comes Aiden Kirk down to the inside, late on the binders, contact.
Spin, slide, crash. The 21 of Koch goes around. The 2 Tech Sport cars got together, and Koch was the receiving driver of all of it. Right at the apex, right in the driving line at turn 9 and 9A. If that 21 doesn't get restarted, that could be what Weisenberg needs. If we were to get a safety car, it might end the race. Workman would love that 21 to move because he needs every lap he can get to take down Weisenberg at the pointy end of the field.
Well, he's got the gap down to 4/10 of a second, another 3/10 taken out on that last lap, and now Weisenberg has got to push and do everything he can to try to keep that number 13 for BSI Racing behind him.
Yeah. And we're going to get another look at this coming down into 9A. Watch the 47, takes a look here. The 71 of Weir offline, and watch the right front tire in the 71, little lock up there, and then just too late, too deep for the 47. I don't actually think the 2 Tech Sport cars touched each other.
No.
It was just Kirk onto the 21.
No, it was Kirk onto the 21. I think Weir kind of saw it coming and was able to get out of the way and take to that escape road. All right, back to the battle for the lead. Weisenberg, much better run out of the carousel. That's going to gain him a couple of tenths.
Yeah, and down the back straightaway towards turn 7. Weisenberg and Workman, and now as quickly, the 47 has gotten a penalty, incident responsibility. That one's pretty cut and dry as far as penalties go.
Yeah, it is. If you're the one that makes contact and there's a little bit of a brake lock up, that's pretty much a guarantee that it's going to happen.
Haven't yet seen 9 and 9A yet, but we are still under green, so hoping that Koch was able to get back rolling. Just 6.5 minutes to go. And now Spike Kolbecker in 3rd place, feeling some pressure from Will Robusto in the number 2 RVA graphics car. Track clear, we continue.
Yeah, we continue on. Big slide there from Will Robusto. Another big slide there from Will Robusto and from Spike Kolbecker. You can tell these Continentals are getting towards the end of the race here. They're putting it all on the line.
Yeah, these two have spent a lot of time battling each other over the last few seasons, so they know how to get the most out of these cars and out of each other. 6 minutes left. Weisenberg has seen this Indava 13 get larger and larger in the rearview mirror, but he just has to stay focused and hit his marks. It's a challenging racetrack to pass. He has to force Workman to be better.
Well, and we talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast, just how difficult it is to pass here at Sonoma Raceway. So, yes, I would say Workman is there. He has caught up. The gap is 0.3 of a second.
Roles reversed from last year. Remember that Workman lost a race this way in the final moments of 2024's season opener. But now, what has he learned after that year with the most dominant team in the series? He's shifted over to BSI Racing. They have yet to win in this series. It would be their first. Cole Becker with a new team as well. These are teammates battling amongst themselves.
Yes, they are. Here they go, though, working their way down into the carousel. Doesn't quite look like Robusto's got the drive to be able to get him, but takes just a slightly wider line as they come through the carousel. That's kind of the move to set up for the attack. We check back in on the battle for the front, and it looks like Weisenberg was able to respond. Yeah,
it was a 10th quicker in this sector, but they're so close together now that everything that Weisenberg does is going to affect Workman and vice versa here. So into 7A, about 2 or 3 car lengths. The progress has stalled for Workman, but Weisenberg has just picked up the 10th or 2 he needs a sector to defend from that trailing Indaba 13.
Yeah, really has, and that shows a lot of poise.
Oh, man, Workman. He needed about an inch less racetrack there to touch the grass. That was how close he was to the edge of the road.
Yeah, but look how much speed he carries there through 7 and 7A, or through 9 and 9A.
Yeah, he's really good right now. And now Lucas has got to think about going defensive, because one good send on these Alcon brakes and he might have the overtake. Remember, these cars do have ABS, and they are using it in these corners.
Here he comes.
A little puff of smoke out of the 46 tailpipe when he got back to the throttle there. I've seen that a couple of times now. But up onto the front straightaway here. There's nothing between these two. If there's a mistake by the 46, Workman is there. And they're 3 seconds clear of Kohlbecker, so I don't know that they have a lot to worry about unless they spend the next 2 laps side by side.
It was about 3 minutes and 55 seconds when they crossed the line, so I think it's 2 laps at the line.
2 or 3, it's going to be tight here. Over the crest of 3A, Lucas is much better through this portion of the racetrack. Workman, you see him struggling to keep pace. And that was true last time as well. Workman was better in sectors 2 and 3. Weisenberg better in that opening sector by a 10th.
Which is great, but the one problem with it is that the main overtaking opportunities are in sectors 2 and 3.
Exactly. That's why Lucas has got to keep his eyes on the rearview mirror and stay vigilant with Workman so tight behind. This is literally a carbon copy of last year, just with different drivers involved. A similar story with the 2 front runners. Headlights flashing, Workman using all the tools in the toolkit now.
Trying to do everything that he can. Wide line there for Lucas coming down into turn 7 and 7A, but it worked for him. He's able to keep a little bit of a gap, call it about 2 car lengths as they come down through the S's right now.
Up and a skip over the curb there for Weisenberg. He's definitely on the limit. Look how much racetrack they're using all the way over the line, past that onto the apron, and then into 9. Clobber of the curb, kicking some dirt up. He's working now, isn't he, DJ? Lucas Weisenberg feels the pressure, and Workman is all over him.
Watch for the move here from Workman. He's got some good momentum, and Weisenberg knows it. Immediately goes defensive. He's going to force Workman around the outside. Workman dives down to the inside, pinches him as much as possible. Weston Workman not letting up. He is determined to redeem himself from the loss of last year, but it's not done yet, Kyle.
Side by side, both of them stomped that throttle pedal, kicked it out sideways in true rear-wheel drive fashion, side by side across the stripe. Weisenberg edges ahead on their climb up to turn 2. Workman's got the preferred line. If he can keep the overlap, they touch again.
They bang doors yet again, but it looks like if Lucas Weisenberg can keep that thing online, he's going to hold it. He does. That's some of the best defense I've seen all day.
Yeah, Workman really took the battle to Weisenberg in the braking zone there. That's about as aggressive as I think you can get without drawing ire from the stewards. Weisenberg defensive again. That was a smart move. Workman will try to over-under here, but it's tough to do on the downhill run out of 4.
Yeah, the camber and the way the track kind of breaks away from you there, it just doesn't work out. But here comes Workman. He's got another good drive into the carousel. Is he going to try to send a sneaky move there? No, he's not. But the question is did that precipitate a defensive move from Weisenberg? And that can set him off coming down into 7.
Yeah, that was another place that Gresham Wagner used offensively last year, was up the inside of the carousel, and did it in such a way that there was some side-by-side contact with his teammates. And Workman remembers that, if you recall, from 2024.
Yeah, certainly does. Okay. Okay, here again, Lucas Weisenberg, a little bit better of a line coming through turn 7. He's got that gap back up to about 3-4 car lengths now as they come into the S's. Could that defense for Lucas Weisenberg have saved his race, considering we're coming to the white flag?
It bought him some time. He's got to be perfect and hit his marks, but Weston is so good from here on to the exit of turn 11. That time through, though, Weisenberg a little bit cleaner. We saw his hands at work, a lot busier in the cockpit the last time around. And it'll just be 2.5 miles for Weisenberg once he sees that white flag in the hands of Tom Hansing.
All right, here he comes. Doesn't have to go defensive this time into turn 11. Brings that Segra number 46 out of the corner. The gap still stays at about 2.5, 3 car lengths as they cross through turn 12. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Workman. 1 lap to go for Weisenberg.
All right, boys, play nice. Last lap, 2.5 miles here. It got aggressive the last time Workman went up the inside. He's got to be aggressive. Climb the curbs here. These cars can take it. Plenty of ground clearance here. Toyota's got a lot of history in rally. Let's use it here on this final lap of Sonoma Raceway.
It looks like Weisenberg has found some speed in this first sector. We've said that's his strongest part of the track, and he is pressing the advantage as much as possible as they plunge down the hill into turn 4.
Yeah, this is looking great for Weisenberg here, but Workman, his advantage comes in the second half of the racetrack, sectors 2 and 3. We're entering sector 2 now. I think where Workman has gained the most is on the run down to 9, and if he can set himself up for a pass at 11, pull that sneak attack again, or over-under, that is where it's going to happen, I think, if he can do it.
Yeah, but Lucas is carrying some good momentum. Gap still at about 2.5 car lengths as they climb the hill now into turn 7. Flash of the headlights once more from Weston Workman, just seeing if he can distract his opponent.
Lucas Weisenberg has not won since June of 2023. It was only 1 victory for this single-car, family-owned team. Weston Workman has never won in Toyota GR Cup North America. Headlights flashing and time is slipping away. Just 1 sector, 3 or 4 corners left for Weston Workman to pick the pocket of Lucas Weisenberg.
Flash of the headlights yet again as they go down into turn 9. It's going to be no space for Workman, but he gets a great drive off at the corner. The gap's down to about a car length.
This is turn 11 now coming up. This is Workman's last opportunity. It's going to have to be from a long ways back. Weisenberg will likely defend this a bit. Here he goes. Workman late on the brakes. It's going to be an over-under if it happens. Turn 11.
He tries to get it, but it doesn't work out as Lucas Weisenberg will power to the line. Foot down to the floor. Here he comes out of turn 12. For the second time in history, it's Lucas Weisenberg to set off the 2025 season.
What a battle between those two. And Weston Workman, second place again. I know that's got to be frustrating for him. He was so close, he could taste it there a couple of laps ago. Spike Kohlbecker third in the number 55 on the podium for the RVA graphics team. Will Robusto there as well. Battles continue. Coase, the 73 car back there as well. That's the Precision Racing LA car of Mike Lamara. This is a battle here, and here's Ethan Goulart trying to climb up the standings after his drive-through penalty earlier in the race, up the inside at 11, braking zone duel.
And here he comes, trying to get the position away from Mike Lamara. Lamara gives him the space. Goulart doesn't need a second opportunity, and he is going to steal away that 19th place position away from Mike Lamara.
Checkered flag here for the rest of the field. Hewitt, Coase, Lamara, Goulart, Sanseri, Garcia, and Moore finishing out their first race of the season here in Toyota GR Cup North America. What a battle, what an opening round. And silly season, could have filled the Madison Square Garden. It was so funny this year with all the teams, drivers changing around here. But Lucas Weisenberg, you see the battle scars on the right side door there. His second victory, he told us in the paddock earlier this weekend, 14 wins, referencing all the potential races on the calendar. And race results there on the left-hand side of the screen. Lucas Weisenberg, Weston Workman, Spike Kohlbecker, Will Robusto, John Dean on debut for Copeland Motorsports. He'll also win the Worldwide Express Legends category battle here. Ethan Ayers in the number 6, then it's Max Schweid, Zach Hollingshead, Christian Weir, Jackson Tovo, the 14-year-old in 10th place. Galanti, Mashore, and Tovo. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from race 1 here at Sonoma Raceway. Race 1 for Toyota GR Cup North America at Sonoma Raceway. It was a wild one. Started with a strong off from Lucas Weisenberg up the road. A little bit of contact there between himself and Weston Workman, setting the standard here. Then it's the 55 of Kohlbecker that was in that fight as well. Jensen Sofronis in the 41, running away from Max Schweid. Big slide there for Sofronis in the compression, overcorrects and slides into the tire bundles for Sofronis. Battle back here, Hollingshead, Ford Koch, and the 47 of Aiden Kirk. 3 wide there for a moment. Up the hill in turn 2 now. And then into the flowing S's. There was such great battles through the entire race. A little bit more fighting deeper in the field. The number 93, Patrick Brunson, working by Jason Kos in the number 3 fast track car. Contact at 9. That was Ford Koch off the bumper of Aiden Kirk. And that was a drive-through penalty for the 47. Battle here for the lead. It was fierce, but it was Lucas Weisenberg that was able to come through and win Race 1 for Toyota GR Cup at Sonoma. And what a fight it was, just like last year, but this time the leader stayed out front, and Weisenberg picks up his 2nd career victory at the Toyota GR Cup North America competition. And again, this kid is so good, and he's holding up the one. Again, family team, they are going to be absolutely thrilled with this result. And as we said a couple of times this race, there is a hole at the top of the pylon with our reigning champions moving on to GT4 competition. Weisenberg claiming the top spot in the opening race of the season. And Weston Workman spent all of last year running in 2nd place and was unable to steal it from Weisenberg. But Spike Kohlbecker also with the changeover to RVA Graphics Motorsports this season, it has slowed him down none, especially with that new sponsorship from Vanguard. That's got to be exciting for him. And easy to spot with that bright yellow. There's Lucas getting out of the car, celebrating with the team. And new sponsor on board for Lucas. And let's head down to Amanda Busek, who's standing by with a race winner, Lucas Weisenberg.
Well, Lucas, it is no surprise to me to see you just dripping with sweat after that battle out there. And I loved seeing Weston come over and give you a nice little hug. The battle royale that you guys just gave us as fans watching that. I'm sure you were all in your rearview mirror, but your 2nd career win here in this championship comes right here on just a masterful show of defense. How did you do it?
Yeah, first off, I just want to thank the team, Lucas Racing. It was a great car. 2nd one with the team. It's good to put it on pole and lead every lap. Segra, the sponsors, so much support. We built a gap for a little bit there, but Weston came back and fought back. Yeah, it was a good drive from him. I'm just happy to take the top step.
Quickly, with Grisham out, there's a little bit of a hole. What are your intentions?
Dominate the year, go for 14 wins, 14 poles. We already got 2 of those down so far, so keep it up.
Well, if race number 1 here is any indication of what we're going to see in race number 2 and kicking off the 2025 season here in the Toyota GR Cup, the battle between Lucas Weissman and Weston Workman will be one that we'll be talking about to kick off tomorrow. But what a great race day to kick off the 2025 season. We'll see you for race day on Sunday.